I've been recently asking myself a question that a lot of believers ask themselves. How do you grow in your faith? And one of the characters that is very prevalent, one of the character traits that is very prevalent in a lot of men of God, specifically in the Bible, is courage. And that is interesting because it's one of those warrior-like traits. In 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13, Paul, when he finishes up his letter to the church of Corinth, he tells them, "Watch, stand fast in the faith, be brave, and be strong." Interestingly, he tells them to stand fast in the faith, to be strongly rooted in their faith. But then he follows up with necessary, things that they should acquire, that they should have: being brave and being strong. These things directly correlate to being rooted in faith. And looking at different lives of men of God, we can very well see that. Going back to the story of Joseph, for example, when he was tempted by Potiphar's wife, it required strength to do what is right, to stand fast in the faith. When Daniel's friends were faced with fire, it requires strength and courage to do what is right. Same goes for a lot of other stories throughout the whole Old and New Testament. Going to 12 disciples and Paul himself, when they were faced with threats, with persecutions, with enormous amount of different kinds of tribulations that they went through, it required faith. It required courage to be faithful. Figuring it out, I'm asking myself a second question as to, okay, how do I acquire this faith? And for me, the answer lies again in their lives. You see, before Joseph was faced with this decision, we see he worked years in the desert. He worked as a slave. And we see that God has been blessing him throughout these years, which means that he stayed close with the Lord. But not just stayed close, he grew closer to the Lord. Same goes for Daniel's friends. They were away from their home country, Israel. They were away, but God was still blessing them because they were still pursuing him daily. Disciples spent a lot of time with Jesus, and after Jesus' death and resurrection, they continued to grow closer to him through Holy Spirit. You see, all of these men were prepared to face different tribulations. That's why they had strength and courage to stand fast in their faith, is because they were deeply rooted through daily faithfulness. So today I just wanted to share with you what I found for myself is I desire to be a courageous man of God. But the only way to achieve that courage, God-given courage and strength, is through daily commitment to him. We cannot face battles if we aren't ready to face them. It is a very simple but yet very, hard truth for us, because a lot of times we aren't committed, or at least not as committed as we should be. So today I just wanted to encourage you and myself. Be strong and courageous. Stand fast in the faith by committing daily to the Lord. Thank you.